I have the privilege to introduce to you a young man who is extremely passionate about human rights. As a child trying to escape the harsh reality of the Yugoslav wars, he turned to education. All of his friends had fled the country, his cousins as well. He had no one left to play with. All he had was school. And now as a young man, he has helped to provide education to the youth in his home country of Bosnia. In fact, he has helped more than 500 Roma children receive high-quality basic education. He has helped to reduce academic corruption, and he continues to empower young women through education. In America, education is often taken for granted. And when I see young people dedicating their lives to ensure others are afforded the basic human right, it is humbling and awe-inspiring. Danijel Cuturic is a perfect example of one man that with a vision and a desire to fight injustice continues to make the world a better place with positive change. Just 3 months ago, he moved to Jordan to work with the refugee camps. He has seen and firmly believes in the transformative power of education. Danijel, we thank you for spreading knowledge, hope, and love throughout the world. Please join me in welcoming this brilliant and passionate leader, Danijel Cuturic.
Thank you, Hope, for the wonderful words. Distinguished guests, fellow delegates, I'm honored to have the opportunity to address you today, and I'm grateful to One Young World for creating this important arena where we can discuss some of the most pressing concerns of humanity. Over 50,000 Syrian refugee children in Jordan have never been to school, and this number keeps on growing. In Jordan, by law, if children miss school for 3 years, they lose the right to continue their education. I was 7 when I first went to school to my home country, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Like all kids that age, my world was little more than a simple textbook, a pencil, and a few classmates with whom I shared the silliest yet most endearing of memories. Then war came. It shook my small world. My textbooks were uncolored, and tears flew every time when my green pencil was coming to an end, because that meant I would not be able to draw grass or trees or anything green. Today, 20 years later, I stand here in front of you, but the world I see is not yet a better place. There are 4 million Syrians fleeing their homes. Today, I am a humanitarian worker assisting 600,000 refugees living in Jordan. And I still see the children worried because their green pencil is ending. If a child is lucky enough to go to school inside the camp, they face many obstacles to receiving a good quality education. Parents expect children to work for money. Classrooms are packed with minimum 60 or 70 children. There is no electricity during the day, and at night it is ration charging mobile phones to talk to relatives in their home country. Cooking or washing are the priorities. All these things make it impossible for them to study. My organization, Relief International, in partnership with UNICEF, is providing education to almost 6,000 children aged 6 to 18 living in Azraq and Zatari refugee camps in Jordan. With more than 80,000 refugees in Zatari, Zatari is the second largest refugee camp in the world. In 2016, we will reach an additional 12,000 students and give them the possibility for either remedial education or informal education through courses in literacy and numeracy and extracurricular activities, or non-formal education by providing them with certified skills and knowledge that will help them to catch up and continue education in the formal school from grade 3, 6, or 9. Education transforms lives. Access to high-quality education provides stability, structure, and routine that children need to cope with loss, fear, stress, and violence. Without it, children are far more likely to engage in illegal activities, become victims of sexual exploitation. Females are especially vulnerable to being forced into early marriage. Now, in the 5th year of the Syrian crisis, the threat is that an entire generation of young Syrians will be lost because they couldn't go to school. We are trying to reach to those young people who have never been to school, who are school dropouts, or who have any problems with learning in the formal school. We provide psychosocial support as well as recreational activities and life skills that enable refugees to cope with everyday problems and develop their professional capacities that will enable long-term development and recovery. No one wants to be a refugee. 4 million Syrians have left everything behind to find safety. We have internet access, all of us here, and are educated enough to be able to submit application to attend this summit. They do not, and many of them will never be able to do so. A tent isn't a home. A camp isn't a homeland. And an education is not a luxury. Food, shelter, and education are rights, basic human rights for all. This room is packed with competent young leaders who are full of compassion and energy, who I believe won't turn the back on the people who are in need and coming from another country. Maybe this all sounds like a science and too far away from your everyday lives, but there is one thing that each one of us can do. When we go back home and then we decide to have a coffee with our friends at Starbucks, just remember one thing. The cost of one cafe latte would pay enough for a years-long stationery for a Syrian refugee child. So instead of spending the night with your friends over cafe latte at Starbucks, why don't you spend the night talking to a Syrian refugee child over Skype through our educational center? Knowing that somebody cares for them, even for an hour, means a lot to them. Thank you.